Welcome. I'm with the art dealer slash art curator, Roger Washington. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
So can you tell me a little bit about what you have going on right now? I know you have a gallery space and all that.
Actually, we don't have a gallery space anymore. We gave up the gallery space when we moved to Bangkok from Berlin. That was 2017. And I decided I didn't need the extra baggage. It's going to be a bit too cumbersome because my wife is a diplomat and we move every 4 years. And so moving to different locations, switching locations has just been a bit cumbersome. And we're in Bangkok here. And so I decided that, should I do something here? Should I open up a space here? And I said, well, it's my first time in Asia and I don't know enough about it. I'm just going to be a bit more flexible and just do what I've been doing, but retain the network and build the network. But maybe I should start doing fairs and start focusing on projects and curating and collaborating with other people. And so this is what I've been doing for the past 3 years. And it's actually been working out a lot better.
That's amazing.
A lot better for me. Yeah. I have to say, I do miss having my own space. There's nothing like having your own space. When you look at the cost and now you look at what's going on now, I'm happy. I'm happy in my position. Yeah.
When did you first realize that you wanted to get into the arts?
Well, let's say it started by default. It's not something that I studied. I took art history courses, and eventually we ended up moving to Washington, D.C., and I started talking to artists, and I started reading more and more about artists. I had a really good teacher in Paris, and an American, and he got me into art, and we moved to Washington, D.C. Things progressed, and I started talking to artists, working with artists on the side, and then I had an exhibition, and I supported an artist, and then it just developed, and then I had group shows, and things just blossomed, and I started reading more about it, and things just materialized in that way. And then we moved to Paris, and it continued in Paris, and we moved to Berlin, and then in Berlin it sort of blossomed, and we moved here in Bangkok. So it started around 2006. And I was sorry?
No, continue.
It was a very interesting time because that was the introduction of the iPhone, and the iPhone revolutionized everything, believe it or not. And the idea of going from analog into digital, and things just progressed for me then, and I started doing more research into the digital realm, which wasn't really respected or wasn't really known about then. And so now I'm very happy with where I am with this. I'm very happy that I made the early investments and also looking into it, but also at the same time, I'm very happy that I had the curiosity to go forward. And it wasn't really seen as a prospect for the future. And now we're looking into this now, and it's here. What do we do? Where do we go?
Do you have any speculation on that?
This is something we're here. I'm working from home, my office here, and this is something I've been thinking about day in and day out. Where is it going? And I'm looking around me and talking to a few people, talking to artists, and artists are, what's going on, what's happening. And so fairs are getting canceled, gallery exhibitions are getting canceled. How do collectors, how do new collectors, how do people go forward? And it's gonna, the art world may start looking at itself and how it's going to move forward. How can you maintain your base and expand? Are galleries, curators, institutions, are they going to now come forward more and go, I don't know, the digital realm, social media? Because some do it as sort of something that they use these platforms as something that they have to do, but how can they leverage it? And I'm looking around, and the leaders for me, the people who are really progressive in this are I mean, of course, Artsy and Art Basel. They started this this viewing rooms, and the website company and database company that I'm working with, Art Logic, started also a while ago. And I'm excited about what's going on. I'm excited for myself, but I'm looking around and I'm saying, unless you have money, how can a brick and mortar gallery make this transition? When you've established your collector base over the years and your collectors are not going onto their devices, how can you encourage them to look at art? And how can you encourage them to purchase and buy art? And these are some of the things that I've been looking at and thinking about. And I think this is going to be, it could be a very tough time. And if fairs and exhibitions continue to be canceled or paused, this could have a dramatic effect. And what happens with people who are in the industry, how are they going to function now, not knowing when you're able to go out, when they're able to the social distancing, when that ends? Is there going to be money available to purchase art? Are collectors going to be buying? Are the new collectors going to get involved? I've created new collectors. How can I stimulate them, and how can everyone else? And so I'm doing a lot I'm on a campaign now promoting my art. If you haven't noticed, I'm doing every week, we're promoting a new artist. And we might be bringing some new artists on board. So there are going to be 3 posts per week. Fridays, introducing a new artist that we have, or artists that we will be working with. And we're having a newsletter accompanied with images. This is actually on my website as well. And we're doing this on social media. Mondays, it's sort of a recap. And Wednesday, we have the final post for that artist. And so this is what we'll be doing for the next, 7-8 weeks. And this is what we're doing. And so we're hoping that others will follow. This is a very tough time for artists, and they need galleries, curators, institutions to promote them. They need to keep the momentum going. And this is how I see it. But I'm still really thinking about it and looking at it and trying to find ways to leverage this. So this is where I am.
For sure. There's a lot of places to go from that. I think I want to go and ask you, what is the most valuable tool that you use in your day-to-day?
Believe it or not, what I'm doing the most is networking. I'm spending most of my time on platforms, networking, keeping my contacts, and developing new ones. And one of the things I've always done, some people say I shouldn't, it's bad, but I share. And so I have a group of people that I'm working with, and we share. And I really like some of the artists that I work with. There's a few artists that I work with who are particularly open and transparent, and they also share. They give me collectors. They share, and I also share with them, and we have a trust. But it's not for everyone. But this is just something that I'm engaged in. So most of my time is building my network. It's taken a long time, and but I'm building it as open as I can.
Do you see any shift in the market that's happening right now?
Shift in the market. I think right now the market is sort of hunkered down. I'd say the market is sort of in a state of flux. It's in shock. Yeah. And the market is very concerned about when this is over, which is hopefully soon, what's going to be the purchasing power of the collectors? Are there going to be, are things going to be on discount? And if so, how is that going to affect the artist's career? Is it going to be as easy, or is it going to be easy to purchase works? What are artists doing now? If you're an artist and you're living in New York and you're having a curfew, are you able to get to your studio? and how much work can you, how much time do you have? And so these are just questions. There's the production of art and the purchasing of art. How is that gonna, what will happen with this?
For sure. In your journey, what would you say has been the thing that has surprised you the most, or something that you wish that you had known when you had started?
Something I wish I had known. I'm sort of a perfectionist, and one of the things I wish I had known is that I don't have to be. I wish I would have just jumped in a bit more. I was always concerned, and I spent most of my time reading and just researching art because I didn't study it. So I felt like I didn't have an advantage, and that I had to sort of make up for lost time. And that's something I realized that most of my colleagues, most of the contemporaries have less knowledge, or they're equal. It's just I didn't come from a background in art. One of my oldest sisters a collector, but I didn't come from this background, and it's something I had to work hard for. And I wish I would have jumped in. And I know it's a very difficult job, but I wish I had just been a bit more. I wish I'd been less afraid. I wish I would just pursued it more, because there are not many people looking like me that are doing this, and so that was also something. It's about building trust, and so it took a while, and it's something that I'm aware of, and yeah, this is where I'm now.
Yeah. Well, what was that solidifying moment for you when you realized, like, this is your career now? Or, like, this is what you want to be your career? It's art.
That probably happened when we were in Paris. It was not something that, I guess, in Washington, D.C. was more fun. It was more of a hobby. Mm-hmm. But it was an introduction, because in Washington, D.C., as you know, the national galleries are free. And so there was an access to museums, but I didn't have an understanding of contemporary art then. I think it became really serious for me in Paris when I started getting into photography. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really started to really pursue it and understand it, art. And then I started looking at it as a profession. And that's where I put all of my money. That's where I put my resources into. Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say is the criteria that you're using when you're selecting new artists?
Artists come to me through sometimes other artists. Mm-hmm. Artists will come to me through friends. But a lot of the times, I prefer seeing the work with my own eyes, but I've also learned to trust my instincts. Mm-hmm. And I think that over the past few years, a lot of the art that I've seen has come through artists sending me their works, and it's come through platforms. It's come to people sending me their works, their EPKs, images, and a lot of this has happened online. And I think that works. It works for me. It's worked for me, and I've learned to evaluate and to trust myself. And knock on wood, I have not been wrong. Yeah.
That's amazing. So a lot of my audience, in fact, the majority of my audience, are people in their late 20s, they're MFA graduates. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to them if they're trying to make that leap to sell art, because they may not know a collector and they may never have sold something?
These are artists you're speaking of, or these are artists you're speaking of what you're trying to sell? Have everything in order. Have their profile in order. One of the most difficult things, believe it or not, that I find is getting images. It sounds crazy, but I meet very good artists and I say, can you send me some JPEGs? And I see their eyes rolling in their head. Sure, give me a few days. You should have your CV, you should have JPEG images ready. You should have a statement ready. You should just go to your Dropbox account or your Google account, your inbox, and just be able to just send it out with no problem. That is really tough. And also getting good quality images. And I understand maybe 10 years ago it was a bit more complicated, but now it's the easiest thing. If you ask me, I can send you whatever you need. And that's something I think those are the basic components I think that will. And another thing, when you're trying to sell your work to a gallery, an institution, and you're trying to get recognized, research who they are. Don't just send your works to a gallery, and the gallery specializes in photography, and you're sending minimalist works, or you're sending something completely different. Know who your gallery's audience is. Know who their collector base is, and try to match it up with yourself. Research them, because a lot of times people send me images of their works and it doesn't fit with me.
Well, what about, let's flip that and let's say that I am, the same age demographic, but I want to become an art dealer like you. What advice would you give? I don't have the connections. I've never met a collector, but I want to be an art dealer. What should I do?
Build a network. Go to a lot of exhibitions, go to a lot of shows, go to fairs, and see as much art as you can. You start a network, and you have to connect the dots. You have to find out what people want, and you have to be straight and honest. And if you are this way consistently, the doors will open for you. And I think that's one of the model is changing. It's much more transparent than it was before. The deals, these backroom deals, they still happen, to a large degree, but it's a lot more transparent than it was before. Well, since I've been doing.
And if I'm an artist, what advice would you give me to help me set my prices?
Prices are very complicated. That's true for me. I normally let the artists set their own prices, and I've worked with and I've coached a few artists that I've taken on from scratch who are just really beginning, and I found that it's quite hard. I think an artist should build up. That's not my that's not an area where I'm focused on new artists. So I decide to let the artists have their own prices and find out how that works with my collectors. And if the prices are too high, is it something that's fitting with me? I have a maximum price. If the prices are too high, then I can. If they're too low, it doesn't work for me. So I have different types of collectors. So yeah, but I let the artists normally decide on the prices and see how it works.
And what would a dream project for you be like?
I've got a dream project coming up here next year here in Bangkok, and it's a German artist. And well, I have two dream projects actually coming up here in Bangkok, and different locations. And they're both Western artists. One is Tibetan Swiss, and the other is a Berliner. And they're coming here, and this is their one of the artists is the second time it's coming here, and the other artist is the first time. And it's the process of how everything is going to be organized. It's the whole model. It's just setting everything up, the organizing and everything, and when it finally happens, I think the ultimate goal of this dream project is introducing these artists into this market. These are foreigners, and introducing these foreign artists into this market here and selling their works.
Hmm.
That's very important. How can I find a way to navigate to help them sell their work? Because that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate goal for here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What would you say? Who are some of the artists that are really, or people in the art world that are really exciting you right now or inspire you?
Wow, I thought about this, and I was talking to someone a few months ago, and I don't like to give names of people. Let's say I prefer not to give names, but um, um, one of the things I wish I had done when I was in Berlin, and two of my friends told me that it wasn't going to work, and I wanted to get into to open up and to introduce African contemporary artists to Germany, to Berlin. And that was one of the things I really, really wanted to do. It didn't happen, and it's a decision that I sort of regret now because I'm a bit too late. But so yeah. But in terms of talking about naming artists, it's not something that I'm really comfortable with. I'm looking a lot at Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I think Instagram is probably the best platform where people, or collectors, artists can be inspired, and where they can go to and they can not necessarily develop their skills, but just get inspired. And that's let's just say we'll just leave it at that for now, because I really don't like to name names. And people, why did you name me? And yeah, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I'm going to ask a selfish question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So
sure.
I do a lot of like installation, performance art, often very ephemeral. What advice would you give to someone like me who necessarily isn't selling like paintings or something that's very easy to sell?
It's someone like you who's doing what is it, performance? Is it
installation art,
installation art, ephemeral art, and it's not my area. It's something a bit harder, and it might require institutions or galleries that were sponsored by the city or sponsored by governments because they have the funding to help, and they're not concerned with the commercial aspect of introducing you. So I think introducing someone doing performance art or these type of mediums, it's a bit harder unless you have money. Unless you have money, it's very I guess from my perspective, it's educational. This is where people learn, and people say not everything has to be put on your wall or in your salon. This is something that we can just look at and enjoy, and we can just appreciate. But it will take funding. It will take funding. So those are the sectors that I would probably go to.
Thank you. If someone wants to become an art dealer or an art curator, what would you say is something that that's critical that they get right to avoid wasting time or money?
I've wasted time and I've wasted money. So one of the things, I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had a mentor. I wish there was someone close to me that I could watch, because I've always had to watch afar. I've always had to observe afar and to sort of create my own model, which I'm happy of. I'm happy that I've done this, but had I had a mentor early on, someone that I could look at their mistakes, look at where they were moving forward, and in a way that was beneficial to them and to other people, that would have been better. So I think that, and you have to you need an eye, and everyone has an eye. You need an eye for art. You need an eye for the narrative of the art, and you need a base that's going to accept that from you, and that these people will trust you, and it appeals to them. And the larger your base, the better it is for you. And the people who really make it create their own narrative for this. They create their own, and they inspire people. I think that's it.
That's wonderful. If someone is looking for a mentor, what advice would you give them to find that person?
Someone is looking for a mentor, what advice would I advise? To look at the person, look at what they're doing, how the person interacts with others. Do they share? Do they being an art dealer? There are a lot of bad dealers. There are a lot of bad dealers out there, but not all. And my profile is to support and help, and that's where I'm going. And so I would say watch and listen and find someone that's going to inspire you, and find someone that's going to help you to develop your skills and to allow you to develop your skills without taking things personal. Because sometimes people can be jealous, let's say, and you have someone under your wing and you find out that they're doing things better. And find someone that's completely open and just is going to allow you to do this and to be the best person that you can be. That's it. So this is what I believe. I wish I had someone. There are people in my life that, as I said before, that I admire from afar. But I'm very open, and I've coached a lot of people in my time. And I tried to be as open and transparent as I could, and this is what I would tell them to do when they're looking for something.
Yeah. What is something that, I know that we've touched a little bit about what's happening now with the changes in the art world because of the current situation, but outside of the current situation, let's say if I were to ask you this three months ago, what would be something exciting that's happening in the art world right now that you're looking forward to or is intriguing to you?
Exciting. Let's say here, for me, I just started going into fairs, and fairs are quite intriguing for me. They're sort of they're a rush. There's not many events take place. I guess if you're in a trade fair and you're selling products, or if you're selling food or whatever you have, if you're selling electronics or whatever, but going to an art fair it's an experience. It's a high to be there as a visitor, but when you're actually there and you're engaged with people, it's the most rewarding experience. And I think this is something that this is personal. This is personal for me. And I 3 months ago, yes, the high point would probably have been that for me. I hope I answered your question.
No, that's actually, I've been thinking about the pop-up, like the number of fairs in the last 10 years has exploded. It's actually something that I've been fascinated by as well.
Plus and negatives, plus and minus. Let's say some people are tired of it. You're spending a lot of money, and for a short period of time, and it costs far more than an exhibition, and it's Russian roulette. But one of the things that fairs do, it's you build up your collector base. You're seeing people, and people repeat, and they see you again, and they see you again, and can see you. And so, you're building your galleries. I don't like to promote companies, but I'm working with a company called Art Logic. And I remember the last time I was at expositions in Basel, I could sell from my iPad. It's a platform that allows me to print certificates of authenticity, invoices. I can do everything from one platform, and that has enabled me to be flexible and not have to worry about having a gallery and needing a gallery. So that's important. This is important for me.
All right. Kind of two more quick questions here. I want to be respectful of your time. So for someone who's going to a fair or wants to attend the fair, what advice would you give to them to get the most out of that event?
As a spectator, as a visitor? As a visitor, or?
We'll say as a visitor.
As a visitor, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. Look at a piece. And depending on what level you are. One of the collectors and friends I know, they purchased 2 works from us, and they went to another booth, and they purchased an artwork that was a book. They purchased a book, pages missing, and it was just the binding open, and an artwork created inside. And you can even see the threads where the pages were. And they showed it to me, signed and everything. And I said, wow, they have an eye. And trust in your instincts, going around. If you go to your first booth and you say, I want to buy this, that's perfect. But if you're like most people know, it takes a bit of time. And where do you place that in your space or spaces? Maybe you're buying it for your vacation home. Maybe you're buying it for your apartment, how large. But you just trust your instincts. That's what I would say. And they won't fail you.
Beautiful. And then the final question I have is, are there any parting words or any questions that you want to ask my audience?
We'd like to ask your audience, I mean, particularly this time, how they feel about what's going on now. Let's say June, there are many things that are happening. In June, here in Bangkok, they were scheduled to have the hotel art fair, which is probably very Asian. I don't know if you can imagine having a 5-star hotel with all of the suites, not converted, but let's say augmented in a way where galleries can showcase their artists. And so walking into a hotel suite and looking in the suite, you have a bed, and the gallery has a liberty. You don't move the bed, you don't move anything, but you organize and construct it into a space for showcasing art. And it's been going on here for the past few years. And so what is the audience, what do they think about what's going on now, this global pandemic, and when this ends, what position are they going to be in to participate in the art world? And is the art world doing enough to engage them to pique their interest to stay involved? Are galleries communicating with them? Are galleries are they remaining informative? What are they doing? And when this is over, which is hopefully going to be soon, have they sort of, I don't want to say not lost hope, but have they pushed art aside and moved on to something else? Is art still going to be as relevant? And have we done our job to keep things going, if you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's something that I'm trying to do. And people say, why are you doing this every week? I'm trying to keep people engaged and when this is over with, I want to just go right into where I was before. And are we doing our job? Maybe that's a question. Are we doing our job well enough? Good enough?
Thank you so much. And where can my audience find more of you and your work?
Ronewa, RONEWA.com. And Ronewa is my brand name. The first two letters of my name, Roger, RONE for Nelson, and WA for Washington, Ronewa.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And so we look forward to engaging you. You can go to our website, and in the bottom footer and in the contact section, you can also subscribe to our newsletters.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.